Hi, today I wanted to look at the NWSL season so far. We're about 7, 8 weeks in. Today is May 31st. We're getting pretty close to because there's so many players that are play for the U.S. Women's National Team that are also key players for their NWSL team. When the U.S. Women's National Team has games that can affect the NWSL season, so we are about a week or so away from uh, two U.S. Women's National Team games that will impact the season. But we're just going to look at the standings, discuss some of the key events so far this year, some of the surprise teams, surprise players, both good and bad, and just see how the season is progressing. So in first place, we have the defending champion, North Carolina Courage. If you don't recognize the team name, that's because they did last year. They were the Western New York Flash, and over the year they moved down to North Carolina and changed their name to the North Carolina Courage. This is the team that won the NWSL championship last year. They went on a great run last year, and they're continuing that form. They're a really scrappy team, but they also have some very talented players, and they're a fun team to watch if you get a chance. Let me take a quick break. I should have mentioned that two things. Number one, if you follow NWSL, you probably heard that there's a new TV deal with Lifetime. So each Saturday there's one game on TV on the Lifetime channel, and then but also if the game you want to watch isn't on TV, you can use your phone or tablet or laptop, etc., and find it. It's called the Go 90 app. Um, they've had some problems with it, but um, you um, try it for a game. It's worked pretty well for me. If you don't live in the U.S., then you can stream the games right from the NWSL website, which is pretty nice. And when they work, the quality of the streams are pretty good. So I should mention that. And then one thing, if you're not familiar with the NWSL standings and how the playoffs work, there is a playoff system like the MLS. Most soccer leagues around the world don't really use that system, but so in the NWSL case, there's 10 teams in the league, and the top four finishers in points after the season advance to the playoffs, and the one seed plays 4, 2, 3, and then those teams advance to the final, and then you have the winner. So 4 out of the 10 teams make the playoffs. So that of course means that 6 don't. So it is quite a competitive league in terms of the regular season. And one of the reasons I want to do this video is because if you're a team that is falling down the table, that can be a little dangerous because you don't. It can be difficult to climb all your way back because only those top 4 make it. So in second place, we have the Chicago Red Stars. They're on 13 points. They've been playing really well. This was a team that had some hype coming into the year. One of their leading players and their top goal scorer so far is Christian Press, who is a full U.S. national team player. They're a very good team. I think we'll see them towards the top of the table for the majority of the year. And so yeah, they're in second place. They're 2 points behind the Courage, so they're right there in the thick of things. Then moving to third, we have one of the surprise teams so far, Sky Blue FC out of New Jersey. This is a team that's been playing really well. They've won games that they need to win, some tough, gritty games. One thing I really like about this team, if you look at their roster and their lineup, is how balanced they are. That's one thing I usually like to look for any soccer team. So if you look at their back line, they're kind of senior leader, so to speak, is Christy Pierce-Trampone. Most people probably know. But they made some really good draft picks. So they drafted Mandy Freeman out of USC, and I thought following college soccer last year that she might have been, if not the best defender, one of the best defenders. So she stepped in at center back and done an unbelievable job. And then at right back, they have Kayla Mills, who was actually Freeman's teammate at USC. And they won the national championship last year, and they had a really good season. So they've kind of stepped in and have really helped this team. Then moving forward, you have Rocky Rodriguez, the Costa Rican midfielder who was Rookie of the Year last year, led Penn State to the national championship last year. Then up top, they have two really talented players, Sam Kerr, who's an Australian international, and she's been stepping up for them. And then they also have Kelly O'Hara, who of course is a U.S. international. And one thing that's interesting about her is that she usually plays um, a defensive position for the national team, generally right back, although she does push forward a lot. But she's really been playing almost like a forward this year for Sky Blue, and that's a thing to look out for, just to see in terms of her position. So that's a surprise team, definitely a team to keep your eye on. So then fourth, we have the Seattle Reign. I think Seattle might have the best logo in the NWSL. They're right up there. But they're having a great year. They're led by Megan Rapinoe, who's back from her injury and is playing really well. They, to be in fourth right now, that's impressive for them. They have, just like in the MLS where there's a huge rivalry between Seattle and Portland, that's kind of a similar thing in the NWSL. But they're playing really well. For them to be in fourth is a good accomplishment so far, and we'll definitely keep an eye on them. Then in fifth is the Portland Thorns, maybe the most famous team because of the players that they have. It's probably a little surprising that they're only in fifth right now, but there's plenty of time for them to make that up. They're a very talented team. They have a bunch of U.S. internationals. They also have some non-American international players, such as Christine Sinclair, who's one of the best female players of all time, Canadian international. And we'll definitely have to keep an eye on them. I think in terms of their position in the table, but I wouldn't be surprised if they moved up pretty soon. But we'll see. I think another thing about them is they get a lot of other teams' best shot because they have so many high caliber players. So maybe that can be tough for them sometimes. But for fifth, it's early on. I wouldn't worry too much if you're a Portland fan right now. So then sixth is FC Kansas City. They have two U.S. internationals, Becky Sauerbrunn at center back, and then they have Sydney Leroux at forward. They're a solid team. They're not really anything special, but they are just a very solid team. And if they could sneak into the top four, I think that they'd be a tough team to play in a knockout stage type competition. So I think they're just an interesting team to look at. They're a fun team to watch. I like the way they play. Just that defensive style. They don't concede a lot. So seventh is the Boston Breakers. This is a really fun team. They've struggled so far in the NWSL, but they had the number one pick. They drafted Rose Lavelle, who has done so well with the U.S. Women's National Team. Had a great career at Wisconsin. And for them to be a seventh, you might say, okay, that's not great, but yeah, it's better than what they've been doing, and hopefully they can just kind of just keep progressing. They don't need to win the league this year. Just keep moving along. Lavelle looks like she's a very special player, so they have her, and they just need to keep building their team. But really, 7, 8 points, they're not too far out of fourth place, so maybe they can surprise a lot of people and crack into the playoffs this year. So eighth, we have the Orlando Pride. This is another interesting team. They don't, frankly, they're not the most talented team. They do have Allie Krieger, who kind of plays everywhere for them. Very talented player. They've struggled a little bit this year, but I think they'll be okay. They have enough talent where I think they'll be able to compete in most games they play. So they're just an interesting team, worth keeping an eye on. So ninth, we go to the Houston Dash. This is a very interesting team, actually, for a variety of reasons. They actually just let go of their coach. because they've been struggling this year. This is Carly Lloyd's team, but she's of course playing with Manchester City, and I'm not sure what the timetable with her is. I actually think it's a cool thing that she's playing with Man City. Um, Part of that is my English allegiances, but uh, when she comes back, I'm sure she'll give them a huge lift. You know, she's arguably the best player in the league when she's healthy. So we'll see what happens with their coaching situation, and hopefully they step it up a little bit. But I don't think they'll. I think they're probably better than ninth, to be honest with you. But you know, some. It's one of those things where in tables like this, it's unfortunate. Like someone has to be ninth and last. You know, it's just the way it is. One thing I would mention is, of course, this is the NWSL, and American soccer has not really adopted the relegation system that is pretty much universal in other leagues around the world. I love the relegation system. It makes the season a lot of fun to follow. So, in terms of this, like, if you do finish in the last couple of places, it's really not like the end of the world. Obviously, it's a huge disappointment, but you're still going to be in that league next year. So, we'll see. Hopefully, they can turn it around, though. And then in 10th, so far as the Washington Spirit, this is a really interesting team, actually. They're a young team. They have a lot of promising young players. They have 7 points, so you might say, okay, they're in last. But, 7 points, if you look at it, one win, they'd skyrocket up the table. So it's still early for them. The obvious thing to mention with them is they just were able to sign Mallory Pugh, who decided to. She's kind of the 19-year-old phenom who's made several appearances with the full U.S. women's national team. And so she's only made one start. She's had 2 appearances with them, so it's still early in her career with them. So I think once she kind of gets fully integrated, they're really gonna take off a little bit. Um, but yeah, right now they're in 10th, but I don't think they'll stay there. To be honest with you, I think they will move up. There's no guarantees. Of course, Pugh is still young. She's never played in a professional league. That's an adjustment. Um, But I really like this team. I've been able to watch them a few times this year, both with and without Pugh, and I like them. They like I said, they have a lot of young players I like, and I think they're only going to get better and better. If you get a chance, I would definitely recommend watching them. And hopefully, like I said, they have this 7 points right here, if you can see it. But hopefully, they move up. And like I said, if you look at the table, um, uh, um, so like North Carolina is here with 15. But like, look at the mid-table. I don't. You probably can't see that, but like the team in 6th has 11. So the 4th has 12. So there's only a 5 point gap right now between the team in 4th, which is the last playoff spot, and the team in 10th. So it's still very early. There's no need to panic for the teams that are um, that are at the bottom there. So thank you for watching this video. Hopefully I'll be back soon with another one, and enjoy the NWSL season. Like I said, there's plenty of ways to watch games, so definitely, if you're into it, watch some games.